Hey everybody, welcome to our Wednesday evening Asked and Answered. Today we have two questions, or at least we're getting close to the end of our time, so I'm going to put two questions together. Number one is, if I'm aware of a sin, either mortal or venial, may I receive the Eucharist at Mass, or would I have to go to confession first? And question number two is it a sin if we miss Mass on Sunday if we have a good reason? For example, dangerous weather conditions, being sick, or having a sick child at home. Let's go with the second one first. God does not hold us to things that are that are impossible. So it is a precept of the divine law that we honor the Sabbath day, and the way that, or part of the way that we honor that we keep holy the Sabbath day is by going to Mass on Sunday. So it's a very, very serious obligation to go to Mass on Sunday. And if we miss Sunday Mass through our own fault, then that's a mortal sin. However, there are some times where it's not our fault. So, for example, there might be ice on the road, or for most of us, if it's raining, that's not a good excuse. But you might be like 80 years old and it might be hard to walk. And you might be in danger of, slipping and falling and hitting your head if it rains. And so in that case, like, you would be excused because there's a good reason. Or like the person who has a question said, right, if you're sick, you don't have to come to Mass. If your kid is sick, but preferably you could come to Mass like in shifts. Mom goes to one Mass, dad goes to another Mass, and brings the other kids with you in some kind of way. But understand that sometimes that's not possible. So yes, if there is if you cannot come to Mass, then obviously it's not a sin to not come to Mass. However, the obligation is very serious, and so the reason for not coming should also be serious. So, for example, a baseball or a softball game is not a good reason to not come to Mass. There's no scenario that I can fathom where that is a good reason. Going fishing is not a good reason to skip Mass on Sunday. Traveling is not a good reason to skip Mass on Sunday. If there's something that you have coming up and you think that, man, I might not be able to make Mass, then come talk to me, or when I'm not here, come talk to your pastor. Your pastor may be able to dispense you from the Sunday Mass obligation for a week or so, or for a period of time. For example, like if you go work offshore, or something like that, or I don't know, if you have to like take a boat across the ocean and it's going to be weeks or something. So if there's something coming up that's serious, come talk to your pastor and we can talk that out and maybe give a dispensation. But again, it's very serious, and so it is not a sin to miss Mass on Sunday for a good reason, but it is a sin, and it's a mortal sin to miss Mass on Sunday without a very serious reason, because God does not hold us to the impossible. That's the principle behind that. If it's impossible to come to Mass, then it's not a sin. But if it is possible to come to Mass and you still don't, well, that's a sin, and more than likely, it's a mortal sin. It's certainly a grave. Okay, and then the second thing, so if I am aware of sin, either venial or mortal, should I receive Holy Communion? The answer is venial sin, yes. Mortal sin, no. Actually, the Catechism teaches us that reception of the Holy Eucharist with a proper disposition affects the forgiveness of venial sins, as does using holy water with devotion and various other things. But there's only one way that God has told us about for the forgiveness of mortal sins, and that is the sacrament of confession. So if you miss Mass on, if you commit a mortal sin, do not receive Holy Communion until you come to confession. And in fact, come to confession soon. We got to confession right now. Right now, we got to confession 5 days a week at Holy Cross. And some seasons of the year, we have it more days than that. Come to confession and receive God's mercy, so that you can be saved, and live in His grace and go to heaven. So come and receive God's mercy. Why? How do we know that it's a sin to receive to receive Holy Communion in a state of mortal sin? Well, because St. Paul says it. Where is it? This is 1 Corinthians chapter 13, maybe. I don't recall, but I believe it's in 1 Corinthians. He said, some of you come to Holy Communion without discerning the body. Some of you come and receive communion you receive the body and blood of the Lord in an unworthy manner. And it is for this reason that some of you are sick or have even died. He says, do not receive Holy Communion in an unworthy manner. Do not receive Holy Communion, that is, with mortal sin on your soul. And honestly, like, why would you stay in mortal sin anyway? Right? Mortal sin is separation from God. We've cut ourselves off from God. If we die in mortal sin, we go to hell. Nobody wants to go to hell. And we want to be close to God. And we want to live in intimacy with God. And we can't do that in mortal sin. And so, like, why not? Why not come to confession first? Why not come and receive the mercy of God? There are only bad consequences from staying in mortal sin. So come to Mass. Come to confession first if you have a mortal sin on your soul. Come to confession once a month, at least every other month, regardless. And receive the mercy of God and receive the intimate communion with God in receiving the Holy Eucharist. All right, to ask and answer for this week. God bless y'all.